The prison guard couldn't believe what he was seeing on the visitor log. Muhammad Ali, the Muhammad Ali, was asking to visit inmate Mike Tyson. It was March 1992, and the most feared fighter in boxing history had been behind bars for 6 weeks, serving time for a rape conviction that had shocked the world. When Ali walked into that maximum security facility in Indiana, he wasn't coming to see a fellow champion. He was coming to see a broken young man who had lost everything. And what Ali told Tyson in that concrete visiting room would change not just the former heavyweight champion's life, but his understanding of what it really means to be strong. The secret conversation that took place behind prison walls that day remained hidden for 25 years. When it finally came to light, it revealed the most powerful lesson Muhammad Ali ever taught, and showed that sometimes the greatest victories happen not in boxing rings, but in helping someone find their way back from the darkness. March 15th, 1992. The Indiana Youth Center wasn't just any prison. It was where society sent young men who had fallen as far as anyone could fall. Mike Tyson, former undisputed heavyweight champion of the world, sat in cell block D, staring at concrete walls that seemed to be closing in with each passing day. 6 weeks earlier, Tyson had been at the peak of his earning power, commanding millions per fight, feared and respected as the most devastating fighter of his generation. Now, at 25 years old, he was inmate number 922335, serving a 6-year sentence for rape, a conviction he maintained was unjust, but which had nonetheless destroyed everything he had spent his life building. The other inmates gave Tyson a wide berth. Even in prison, his reputation for violence preceded him. But the isolation only made his days longer, his nights darker, his thoughts more dangerous. Without boxing, without the routine of training, without the identity that had defined him since he was 12 years old, Mike Tyson was discovering what it felt like to be truly powerless. That's when the guard knocked on his cell door. "Tyson, you got a visitor." Mike looked up from his bunk, confused. "Who?" "Muhammad Ali." For a moment, Tyson thought he had misheard. "What did you say?" "Muhammad Ali, the boxer, says he wants to see you." Tyson's mind raced. He had met Ali briefly at a few boxing events over the years, but they barely knew each other. Why would the most famous athlete in the world come to see him in prison? 20 minutes later, Tyson sat across from Muhammad Ali in the sterile visiting room, separated by a scratched plexiglass barrier and connected by telephone. Ali, now 50 years old, moved slowly due to Parkinson's disease, but his eyes still held that unmistakable intelligence and compassion that had made him beloved worldwide. For a long moment, neither man spoke. Then Ali picked up the phone. "How you doing, Mike?" Ali's voice was softer now than it had been during his fighting days, but it still carried weight. "How do you think I'm doing?" Tyson replied bitterly. "I'm in prison for something I didn't do. My career's over. Everything's gone." Ali nodded slowly. "I know about losing everything." "You?" Tyson scoffed. "When did you ever lose everything?" 1967, Ali said simply. "They took my title, banned me from boxing for 3.5 years, threatened me with prison. I lost millions of dollars and the best years of my career. All because I wouldn't fight in Vietnam?" Tyson frowned. He knew the basic story, but hearing it directly from Ali's lips gave it different weight. "But that was different," Tyson said. "You stood up for something. You had principles. I'm just—" He struggled to find the words. I'm just here because people think I'm a monster. Ali studied Tyson's face through the glass. Are you? The directness of the question caught Tyson off guard. What? Are you a monster, Mike? Tyson was quiet for a long moment. I don't know anymore. Everyone says I am. The media, the lawyers, the judge. Maybe they're right. I didn't ask what they think, Ali said gently. I asked what you think. I think. Tyson's voice caught. I think I'm angry all the time. I think I hurt people because I don't know how to do anything else. I think maybe I deserve to be here. Ali leaned forward slightly. Mike, can I tell you something about anger? Tyson nodded. Anger is just pain wearing a mask, and pain is just love with nowhere to go. The simple statement hit Tyson like a physical blow. He had never heard anyone describe his emotions that way before. When I was young, Ali continued, I was angry too, angry about segregation, angry about injustice, angry about being told I wasn't good enough. That anger made me a great fighter, but it also almost destroyed me. How do you mean? Because anger gives you power, but it doesn't give you purpose. And power without purpose is just destruction, waiting to happen. Ali paused, gathering his thoughts. The Parkinson's made it harder for him to speak quickly, but it also forced him to choose his words carefully. Mike, you're one of the most gifted fighters I've ever seen, but fighting in the ring was never your real battle. Your real battle has always been with yourself. I don't understand. When you were growing up, what happened to you? The question opened a floodgate. For the next 20 minutes, Tyson talked about his childhood in Brownsville, Brooklyn, about growing up without a father, about being bullied and afraid, about turning to violence as the only way to feel safe in a world that seemed determined to destroy him. Ali listened without interrupting, his face showing no judgment, only understanding. So you learn to survive by being feared, Ali said when Tyson finished. It worked, Tyson said defensively. Nobody messed with me once I could fight. But did it make you happy? The question hung in the air between them. Tyson had never really considered whether happiness was even possible for someone like him. I don't think I know how to be happy, Tyson admitted. That's because happiness isn't something you achieve by defeating other people, Ali said. Happiness comes from peace, and peace comes from forgiveness. Forgiveness of what? Everyone who hurt you, everyone who failed you, everyone who made you feel like you had to become something you're not just to survive. Tyson shook his head. I can't forgive those people. They destroyed my childhood. They made me into this. I understand, Ali said. But let me ask you something. How's holding on to that anger working out for you? Tyson looked around the prison visiting room, at the concrete walls, the barred windows, the guards watching every movement. Not too good, he admitted. Mike, forgiveness isn't about them. It's about you. As long as you're carrying their poison, you're still their victim. Forgiveness is how you stop being a victim and start being free. But how do you forgive people who don't deserve it? Ali smiled slightly. The same way God forgives us, even though we don't deserve it. It was the first time in their conversation that Ali had mentioned religion, but something in the way he said it made Tyson pay attention. You believe in God? Tyson asked. I believe in a power greater than myself. Call it God, call it Allah, call it love. Doesn't matter what you call it. What matters is understanding that you're part of something bigger than your anger, bigger than your pain, bigger than your mistakes. Ali looked directly into Tyson's eyes. Mike, you think you're in prison because of what you did or didn't do to that woman. But you've been in prison your whole life. You've been locked up by fear, by rage, by the belief that you have to hurt people before they hurt you. This place, he gestured around the visiting room. This is just the first time the prison has concrete walls. Tyson felt tears forming in his eyes, something that hadn't happened since he was a child. So, what am I supposed to do? How do I get out of a prison I've been in my whole life? You start by taking responsibility. For what? I told you, I didn't rape that woman. Not for what you didn't do, Ali said. For what you did do. For all the times you chose anger over understanding. For all the times you chose fear over love. For all the times you let other people's poison become your poison. Ali paused, letting his words sink in. And then you do something even harder. You forgive yourself. I don't know how. You start by understanding that you're not the same person who made those choices. You start by deciding that from now on, you're going to choose differently. And you start by finding a purpose bigger than your pain. What kind of purpose? That's for you to discover, but I'll tell you this. The same power that made you a great fighter can make you a great force for good in the world. The question is whether you're willing to fight for something instead of just fighting against everything. For the next hour, Ali talked to Tyson about his own journey, about how boxing had given him a platform to speak about injustice, about how his conversion to Islam had given him a framework for understanding his place in the world, about how learning to serve others had given his life meaning beyond personal achievement. The greatest victories of my life, Ali told him, weren't in boxing rings. They were when I helped other people find their strength, when I stood up for people who couldn't stand up for themselves, when I chose to build bridges instead of burning them down. As their visit neared its end, Ali leaned forward one final time. Mike, everyone's going to try to tell you who you are based on this moment. The media, the public, even people in your own corner. But you get to decide who you become. You can let this break you, or you can let it break you open to who you really are underneath all that armor. What if I can't change? What if this is just who I am? Then you'll have wasted the most important gift you've ever been given. What gift? The gift of hitting bottom, the gift of having nowhere to go but up, the gift of discovering that you're stronger than your worst moment. Ali stood up slowly, his movements deliberate due to the Parkinson's. I'm going to do something for you, Mike, whether you want me to or not. I'm going to believe in you, not in the fighter, the man. And every time you think about giving up, I want you to remember that Muhammad Ali believes you're capable of greatness that has nothing to do with hurting people. As the guards came to escort them out, Ali picked up the phone one last time. Oh, and Mike, when you get out of here, and you will get out, I want you to call me. I've got some people I want you to meet. People who've been through their own darkness and found their way back to the light. After Ali left, Tyson sat alone in his cell, replaying their conversation. For the first time since his conviction, he felt something he hadn't felt in years. Hope. That night, he began reading the Quran that Ali had somehow arranged to have delivered to his cell. He started attending the prison's Islamic services. He began to write letters to people he had hurt, journal entries exploring his own pain and anger, the beginning of what would become a lifelong practice of self-reflection. When Tyson was released from prison in 1995, one of his first calls was to Muhammad Ali. True to his word, Ali introduced him to spiritual leaders, social activists, and other athletes who had overcome personal crises to find meaning beyond their careers. Tyson's post-prison life wasn't without its struggles, but the foundation Ali had helped him build sustained him through the difficult times. He began speaking about his own experiences with abuse and trauma, helping other young men understand that violence didn't have to define their lives. In 2005, when Ali was too ill to travel extensively, Tyson became one of his unofficial ambassadors, carrying on conversations about boxing, spirituality, and redemption with young athletes who idolized both men. Ali saved my life, Tyson said in a 2016 interview. Not from prison. I could have survived prison. He saved me from myself. He showed me that strength isn't about how hard you can hit someone. It's about how gently you can lift someone up when they've fallen. When Muhammad Ali died in June 2016, Mike Tyson was one of his pallbearers. As he helped carry the casket, Tyson whispered words that only he and Ali would have understood. "Thank you for believing in the man instead of the monster. Thank you for showing me that champions aren't just made in rings. They're made in moments when we choose love over fear." Today, the visiting room at the Indiana Youth Center displays a small plaque commemorating the conversation between Ali and Tyson. It reads, "On March 15, 1992, Muhammad Ali demonstrated that the greatest victories are not won with fists, but with faith in the possibility that any person can choose to change. Sometimes the most important fight you can win is the one that helps someone else stop fighting themselves. Because sometimes the greatest teachers come to us in our darkest hours, not to judge us for what we've done, but to show us who we can still become." Muhammad Ali proved that day that a true champion's job isn't just to defeat opponents. It's to help fallen warriors find their way back to their feet. And sometimes the most powerful lesson you can teach someone isn't about how to be strong, but about how to be vulnerable enough to let love replace the anger that's been keeping them prisoner their whole life.